The Nittany Lions have their final practices in State College before they fly south for the Peach Bowl. Some of the guys announce it will be their final game for the blue and white.
And this is kind of the culminating of your season, and it kind of all comes together.
New offensive coordinator is already on the job. The new defensive coordinator is now in place and itching to start.
That's where my eyes go, on that side of the ball. That's where my heart is, on that side of the football.
We encourage viewer participation on the program, how you can help us decide who to send on the Happy Valley Cruise. It's time for Nittany Game Week. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Nittany Game Week. I'm Todd Sadowski alongside former Nittany Lions coaches Jay Santa Paterno and Tom Bradley. Happy holidays, and of course, Merry Christmas to all of our viewers. College football regular season's now a few weeks old, but the intensity and the pace doesn't fall off, guys. It's still a really busy December calendar.
Very busy December calendar, recruiting, transfer portal, hiring new coaches, but remember this, a year from now, there'll be playoff games last weekend.
Yeah, gets even more on there.
Yeah. There's going to be even more on the table.
Yep.
And one of the things that's going to happen is that's going to put a little more pressure on you, a little more time with football.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to get the team prepared. You got to finish the finals. Tom, you're always mentioning the academics, so the kids have to take care of that as well. Well, the excitement for another New Year's Six appearance is evident at Peach Bowl Media Day. Early signing day yields another harvest of top-notch recruits, and our very own playoff format is underway in our opening drive. Well, here's your new offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, getting a look at his new offensive personnel at practice. It's one thing to watch them on tape. You get a different feel for them in person, and we'll hear from him later in the show, but it's important to challenge the guys and keep them fresh.
No question. The thing about the bowl thing is you get out of that week-to-week routine. So you fall off from that every day being part of it. So when you get out there, you got to be intense and you got to get things done.
Yeah, because you're going to focus on different things now. It's not that same routine getting ready for game week. You don't have a game for a while. So now you can put your focus on, hey, we're going to do the pass game today, or we're going to do work on the run game, whatever we want to focus on that particular practice.
And you'll notice from the video, a lot of fundamentals that they're working on to get back on there. A couple of the guys have already decided to leave for the pros, but are going to play in the bowl game. Some are undecided about their future, again, still playing in Atlanta. All of them are excited to be together as a group one last time.
I'm extremely excited. My family, being from the South, I got family members in Atlanta, so I'm just happy to go see them and visit them. A lot of them couldn't get to my games this year because, you know, I'm in Penn State, but I'm excited to get the ATL this year.
Definitely will be playing the game, so get out the way. I definitely am excited to go out there, play again with my brothers. You know, even if I don't come back, they're just happy to go out there and play one more game.
It's a good situation, just being able to be around my guys. And like I said, I'm playing in the game for my guys, so just being able to be there for them, it's an amazing feeling.
And Jacobs is always around the ball for big defensive plays. The Rebels are going to be a tough challenge in Atlanta. Penn State is about a field goal favorite. And you can see both these teams, Jay, have a lot of bowl game success in their history.
A lot of great. These are two of the top 15 bowl win totals. Penn State leads the Big Ten, but of only 9 FBS teams have won 60% of their bowl games or more, and Penn State and Ole Miss are 2 of them.
Tom, we've been over that formula. You've been a part of a lot of those 31 bowl wins. There is a certain strategy to it.
You trying to make me feel old here next to Santa?
Yeah, between us, we've been there for 20 of them.
Yeah.
Well, certainly one of the big things is, you know, with Manny Diaz leaving and with needing to replace an offense coordinator, that became a big to-do list this December, Tom.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that, you know, once again, there's a lot of things going on in December. Yep. We talk about with the bowl games and other things, school and everything, and now also we got to get new coordinators. And
Tom Allen gets hired, as we know now, and certainly he has his history with Penn State with a certain 2-point play in 2020. I think part of the contract should have been made to make him disavow that play or
we were joking,
say it wasn't.
Upon further review, yes, now that he sees it from the other side. But look, they have a good relationship, mutual respect, Tom. It starts right there with Coach Franklin and Coach Allen, and it seems like a relationship that can work. Obviously, it needs to produce results on the field, but it starts with that relationship and mutual respect.
You can tell they have that relationship. They've competed against each other, but you can tell just both they talk to each other. Great respect for each other, and glad that he's with us now.
Yeah, of course, the guy brings a ton of energy to his role. He takes over from Manny Diaz, not only as the DC, also as the linebackers coach. So it should be a seamless transition there when it comes to position coaches. He did things at Indiana previous coaches could not, for sure, but he is certainly happy to be part of the Nittany Lions.
The thing that stuck out to me for him is everywhere he's gone, his defense has played at a high level. You know, different defensive coordinators as well. And but the mainstay is the way the defense plays. You know, like I said, all the way back to when we faced him his last 2 years at Vandy. So that's after being in the role of head coach, when you're trying to hire to the other side of the ball that you don't coach. You know, it's a big deal. You know, and to have that consistency that he's had there has been impressive.
This is a football guy that is still heavily involved in what's going on from a scheme. And from a fundamental perspective, and that was obvious. If it wasn't, then we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Tom Allen.
You know, recent results weren't so great the last couple of years, but that's not always indicative of what's going to happen here coming up.
No, I think the big thing is, you know, is the coaches comfortable with each other? Do they understand what the goal is? And, you know, certainly he's going to have a different talent level at Penn State to work with than he did at Indiana.
That's for sure. One of the good things, you got two different new coordinators coming. They'll work together because that's one of the things you have to be able to do, as we did, Jay. You know, hey, I need to see this today. Hey, Scrap, can you give me this?
Yeah, but you always ignored me. You blitzed every time. Every third down period, here it comes.
He had the script in his hand and he knew what to call it. I changed the script on him.
Well, somehow you guys are still getting along, so it must be an important thing to that success. And, you know, we had a chance to hear from both guys. They know how important it is to fill the vacancies on both sides of the ball. The calendar is about to flip to 2024. Going to be a fascinating year in college football with a 12-team playoff on the horizon. We have our own playoff underway, and we're down to the Final Five.
The Final Five in the Pride Picks. Somebody is going on a cruise in March out of this. We had over 28,000 votes in the knockout round. We got 5 finalists. Going to be a lot of excitement. Voting starts this weekend, and it goes all the way till noon on January 2nd, and we will announce the winner on our last show the weekend of January 5th, January 6th. So get on, vote. You can vote more than once. Get after it at NittanyGameWeek.com.
And you can see we had 4 different categories. This is one of the group pictures. This was a Maryland road trip. We had the students going a little nuts. We had some of the kids. And then this looks like a fun group if they end up winning this thing.
We called that one pre-gaming. And then we also have what we labeled the 1970s hunks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those guys were, you know, I don't know if they were anybody's hunks in the 1970s, but they certainly thought they were.
So the
throwback.
Throwbacks was one of the categories for sure. So make sure you go there and you vote. And look, heads up for the 2nd consecutive year, the Bobby Dodd Coach of the Year Foundation will recognize former Penn State coach Joe Paterno, along with other previous winners at halftime of the Peach Bowl. This is video of Sue Paterno last year in Atlanta, representing Joe Pa. Sue will be there once again this year, so PSU fans can stay in their seats to see that. Coach Paterno is one of only 2 coaches to win the Bobby Dodd Award twice. Bill Snyder is the other. The award is based on how a team performs on the field, in the classroom, and in the community. Still to come, we start to dissect the Nittany Lions' final opponent of 2023. The Rebels of Ole Miss have some difference makers on offense and defense. We'll talk recruiting, Rebels, and give you a Santa starting lineup as a Christmas bonus after the break. You're watching Nittany Game Week.
Opening Drive is sponsored by your local Ford store. Visit buyfordnow.com today.
Well, welcome back to Nittany Game Week. We're doing a little multitasking in this week's scouting report. First topic of discussion, recruiting. Then one more glimpse of a Penn State play that stands out in their bowl history, followed by an initial glimpse into their Peach Bowl opponent, Ole Miss. Coach Bradley and Coach Santa Paterno are true to their word not to peak too early in your bowl preparation, which means the deep dive comes in next week's episode.
Well, we talked about a busy December, and this is all going to be highlighted here in the scouting report, and it starts with signing day. The early signing day was this week. Let's look at how Penn State did in this year's December signing day. The last 10 years, their average Big Ten rank has been 3.4, average nationally 14th. 2 top 10 classes, their highest rank in that 10-year span was 5th. Their lowest was 25th. Now, what does recruiting really mean? Let's take a look at the 4 playoff teams and see what their 4 years of the 4 years of guys they have on the team, what the average rank is. Michigan 12th, Washington 43rd, Texas 10th, Alabama 2nd. So none of those teams are consistently top 4. And then you look at Penn State and Ole Miss. Penn State's been 16th the last 4 years. Ole Miss 32nd. Tom, you know.
You know what I think of those rankings.
Oh, absolutely.
Just throw them out the door. I don't care.
At some point, you got to produce on the field.
Just play. We went through that. We've recruited players over the time. Oh, he's this, he's that, and he comes in and he's your best player.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know what? To me, it's just like not worth the paper treatment.
Yeah. So last week we took a look at some plays from Penn State Bowl history. Talked about putting in wrinkles and the kicking game. Here is a wrinkle in the kicking game from 1959. Penn State and Alabama, the first time Penn State played an SEC team in a bowl game. Fake field goal here. This guy, we're going to sneak a guy out, roll away, and this is the only touchdown in the game in the win in the Liberty Bowl against Alabama in 1959. So Galen Hall, the holder, puts the ball down, fakes it, swings it over there. They get people out, and he get the touchdown. Rip Engel put this play in 2 days before the game over the objection of all his assistant coaches. Thank God he did, because that was the only time they did.
That happens a lot.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at now, when you get into prepping for Ole Miss, when you first find out your bowl opponent is, you really want to focus in on the personnel and who they got. Offensive players to watch, quarterback, running back, tight end. They've got a wide receiver core. Their inside of their offensive line is really good. But let's talk about when you got 3 big-time wideouts, Tom, what's that make you do with your safeties a lot?
Yeah, they're all over the place, okay? They're going to have to go out and cover.
Yep.
And so which allows what? Inside.
Yeah, absolutely. So take a look just on this video, how quickly quarterback Jackson Dart, great name for a quarterback, by the way, gets back there, gets it into that right over the linebackers with the safety spread out to cover it. And then the thing that you got to do is you got to pursue the ball, because look at the speed that they have at wide out. Speaking of pursuing and speaking of what happens when you spread people out, now the run game comes. Their running back leads the SEC 795 yards after contact. Here's a play where he gets hit here and makes 34 yards after contact. Tom, you talk about missed tackles cost games.
And what we talked about, too, is you better be ready to tackle in bowl games, because you have not tackled in over a month. So that's one of the fundamentals you better work on.
Yeah, we talked about game speed last week as one of those things you got to worry about. So let's take a look on the defensive side of the ball now. Their safeties are very aggressive. They create a lot of turnovers. Outside linebacker Kari Coleman plays. Some middle linebackers play some outside linebacker. He's aggressive too. But let's talk about the safeties. Take a look at this clip against LSU and their Heisman Trophy winner. He scrambles. He gets out in the open field. And now the safeties come up. They've been in coverage, and they make sure when they get there with some bad intent, and they are very good at creating turnovers. These two safeties have accounted for 9 or 10 turnovers this year, and ooh, that hurts. That's gonna leave a mark, I think, on Jaden Daniels. Now, let's talk about the linebackers and what they do with them. They move them around. They're a multiple set. We'll talk about the X's and O's next week. 16th in the country in sacks, 25th in tackles for loss. Here's that linebacker coming up and makes immediate pressure on the quarterback, Tom. I know you used to like some of this stuff when you were calling defenses.
I love some of this stuff, and I think one of the things that you just brought up, those safeties being able they can do, enables them to do different things up front, too.
Yeah, and they're aggressive, and they want to create negative plays. Now, speaking of positivity and the season, I'm dressed as Santa. I'm a bit of an expert on Santa. And I have a lineup of some of my favorite Santas. Not this kind of police lineup. Bad Santa, Billy Bob Thornton, excellent, and he's holding a bottle of something in there. Then we've got Artie Lang playing the fake Santa. Then we've got Rudolph Santa, who, by the way, is kind of a jerk in that one for a while. Then you got T.J. Miller, An Office Christmas Party. If you've never seen that, see that one. And then you've got Dan Aykroyd, and then Ed Asner in Elf. Now, speaking of Artie Lang and the fake Santa and Elf, Santa, you smell like beef and cheese. I've got my beef and cheese cheddar sticks from the Penn State Meat Lab on campus. Well worth the cash.
Well, he sits on a throne of lies, of course.
Exactly.
He does. All right. Thanks, Santa. Appreciate it. That's a strong lineup. Of course, for Penn State's new offensive coordinator, he receives an early present when Coach Franklin delivers him the OC job in Happy Valley, and it's a job very high on his wish list.
I'm not taking this opportunity lightly. It's a big-time honor, right, for me to sit up here today and get a chance to interact with this fan base, this family, if you want to call it that, right? Okay. And it was something that if you would have asked me when I wanted to start coach college football, where I'd want to coach or where I want to be the offense coordinator, I would have said this school.
The coach will not call the plays at the Peach Bowl. He will be an interested observer to see how the guys perform on offense. Don't go anywhere. Our Impact interview is next with an Impact author and college football expert, Tony Barnhart. He has some recommendations for Penn State fans traveling down to Atlanta when we return. More Nittany Game Week after this.
Impact Interview is sponsored by the Pocono Mountains, where small-town charm meets big adventures. Book your trip today by visiting PoconoMountains.com.
Well, welcome back to Nittany Game Week. Our Impact interview guest is Mr. College Football, one of the best ever to cover college football in the South, a columnist, author, reporter, Tony Barnhart. Tony, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks. It's good to be on with you.
Well, we're going to talk about your book in a little bit here, but let's start with the bowl season and the Peach Bowl specifically. Penn State versus Ole Miss. Great matchup. First time for Penn State in the Peach Bowl and against Ole Miss, so a lot to look forward to for Nittany Lions fans. Can you tell us about the Lane Kiffin experience and this year's Ole Miss squad?
Well, Lane Kiffin has become one of the better play callers and offensive minds of his generation. He's had a great year. Jackson Dart, the quarterback, has improved significantly since he got there. And what Lane Kiffin does is what you do with great quarterbacks and great receivers. They spread you out, and when you spread out too deep, guess what? They're going to run the ball. So I think this is going to be a really, really good football game. I met with Gary Stokan, the CEO and president of the Peach Bowl, and he was really, really excited about this matchup.
Well, Tony, switching gears, we want to talk about your book, The 19 of Greene. You write about a turbulent time in American history as schools across the country started to integrate, and your team in a small town in Georgia had just 19 players on it. First year it was integrated. And in the book you talk about you and your teammates really didn't understand or think of yourself as trailblazers, but as time followed, your teammate Tom Faust said, this is one of those things you really don't appreciate until later in your life. You just don't understand the importance of it while it's happening. As 5 decades now have passed, what does that season now mean to you and your teammates, and how has that mirrored the changes of what we've seen around the country along that time in history?
Well, Jay, I'll give you one example. The quarterback of our team was a guy by the name of Charles Turner, who came over from the black school, from the African American school, and it was clear. I asked one of my teammates, I said, "When did you know that Charles Turner was going to be our quarterback?" And the guy said, "The minute he got off the bus." Okay, it was obvious. My point of this is that Charles Turner and I met 52 years ago in the spring of 1970. And he and I have been changing messages. He is one of my very, very best friends and wrote the foreword to the book. The bigger question, though, is did we know what it meant at the time? And, of course, we didn't. We were 18 years old, 17, 18 years old. We wanted to win. We wanted to win football games, and we had to do it with 19 guys. And it was just an incredible experience. We had a signing at my old high school 2 weeks ago. There are 15 of us that are still alive, and of those 15 living teammates, 9 showed up, and we had it was a tremendous day.
Hey, Tony, Penn State's first trip to the Peach Bowl. What should we tell the Penn State fans to do while they're down there?
A lot to do downtown Atlanta. Obviously, you got to start at the College Football Hall of Fame, which is right adjacent to the Omni Hotel. It is you might have been to the old one at South Bend. This one is interactive. It's a great, great trip, and you absolutely have to do that. We have a new world of Coca-Cola. Obviously, Atlanta is the home of Coca-Cola. Incredible museum about the history of that. The aquarium is as good as any aquarium in the country. You need to do that, and the Civil Rights Museum is also there. So there's a lot to do downtown. Obviously, Centennial Park, which was the focus of the 1996 Olympics, is a great place, and hope we get good weather. But there's a lot to do in Atlanta.
Hard to match Tony's passion and expertise when it comes to college football. We're going to step aside for the TV show to take a break. We will continue our interview. So if you want to see the entire conversation with Tony Barnhart, make sure to go to NittanyGameWeek.com, where you can consume all of our web-exclusive content. Still to come, there's a reason why he's been chosen as a captain of several times. We recognize a high-achieving, high-character senior with the scrap medal. We're heading into the final minutes on Nittany Game Week.
Scrap Metal is sponsored by the We Are Inn, voted #1 game day restaurant in Center County. Follow us on Facebook and visit theweareinn.com or call for dinner or room reservations.
We are back on Nittany Game Week. Time to recognize a senior leader who's been a huge part of the team and program, Tom, for half a decade.
Yeah, Dessa Isaac, been one to pick him almost every week. We probably could have picked him every week the way he's been playing. Hey, 6'4", 254 defensive end, Canarsie High School out in Brooklyn, 35 tackles, 7.5 sacks. Plays his best games versus Michigan teams. And the one thing I do, first team all Big Ten. And anybody that has 4 A's in their name has to be pretty good.
I think so, man.
Like to buy a vowel.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff, no doubt about it. A lot of those tackles were for losses. And don't forget, we're bringing Nittany Lions together with our depth chart at NittanyGameWeek.com, connecting businesses that support the show with our viewers. Our goal is to build a team that keeps our hometowns strong. Only a few weeks left in the college football season. We still have a lot to share with you. Make sure to check out NittanyGameWeek.com for all of our web-exclusive content. And we're going to finish with our Pride Picks Final 5. Remember, go to our website, vote to help us decide a winner to send someone on the Happy Valley Cruise. Santa, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, in our playoff, Florida State would be in.
They would. They would. We'd have a 5th one in there for sure. All right, for Jay and Tom, I'm Todd. Thanks so much for watching Nittany Game Week. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. We'll see you next time.